Ladies and gentlemen, Morgan State University is very privileged and extremely honored this morning to have as our commencement speaker a distinguished citizen of the state and the nation who really needs no introduction. The Honorable Boyd K. Rutherford was sworn in as the 9th Lieutenant Governor of the state of Maryland on January 21, 2015. A resident of Columbia, Maryland, he earned his bachelor's degree in economics and political science at Howard University, and later took the master's degree in communication management and the law degree from the University of Southern California. With considerable legal and business experience to his credit, including service in business and government law, information technology sales, and small and minority business development, he has held a number of positions in public service. He was Secretary of the Maryland Department of General Services, Assistant Secretary of Administration for the United States Department of Agriculture, and prior to being elected our Lieutenant Governor, he was Associate Administrator of the United States General Services Administration. Indeed, he has devoted much of his career in public service to finding creative ways to save Maryland taxpayers millions of dollars, to increasing utilization of small businesses in government procurement, and to improving government efficiency. Today, he honors us by being the commencement speaker for our December 2017 graduating class. And so members of the class of December 2017, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm Morgan welcome to our commencement speaker and our friend, the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Boyd K. Rutherford.
Well, good morning. Well, thank you, Dr. Wilson, for that kind introduction. To the distinguished regents, deans, faculty members, alumni, and especially the members of the 2017 graduating class of Morgan State University, congratulations and good morning to you. It is truly an honor to be here to celebrate the academic accomplishments of the women and men that I see before me. I want to begin by applauding you, each of you, on your hard work and dedication to this proud university. All of that work has led you to this important moment in your lives. As Lieutenant Governor of this great state, I'm proud that Morgan, along with the other institutions of higher education in Maryland, are continuing to develop well-rounded leaders with a strong moral compass, and particularly here at Maryland, where you are also developing a great sense of justice, generosity, humility, as well as public service. I am also pleased that Morgan emphasizes the need for lifelong learning while preparing its students for opportunities in business, science, engineering, education, healthcare, the arts, and more. As Maryland's premier public urban research university now celebrates 150 years of excellence, Morgan will play a key role in carving out the future for our state. I'm pleased to see the progress that Dr. Wilson and the greater Morgan community have been able to achieve in helping Maryland's leading city and your neighboring communities, the state to develop a new generation of innovators who are ready to tackle the challenges of the 21st century. The state of Maryland is very proud to partner with this great university in the many initiatives that you have. And I'll take a moment just to share one example. In September of this year, I was pleased to announce the state's financial support for the demolition and redevelopment of the nearby Northwood Shopping Center. And that center has a long and in many cases troubled history in this area. And what had become a rundown shopping center will soon become a thriving mixed-use town center, which it will serve the retail and commercial hub for the surrounding community and this university. This transformational project was almost shut down, but we brought together stakeholders, from Dr. Wilson, the ownership of the shopping center, their developer, the local elected officials, and community organizations to get it done, because we knew that this project was good for Morgan and good for the city. And what's good for Morgan and what's good for the city is good for the state of Maryland. And we look forward to finding additional ways that we can continue to work together towards a brighter future. But that's not what brings us here today. On this special occasion, I am here to sincerely applaud and congratulate our graduates on their hard work and dedication in their pursuit of knowledge and higher education. Now, it's been a few years since I graduated from college. I'm not going to give you the exact year, but Jimmy Carter was president, if you remember in your history classes. Gasoline was 86 cents a gallon. There was no ESPN. It had not been launched. Teachers turned revolutionary named Robert Mugabe became president of the newly named country of Zimbabwe. For those of you who remember, it used to be called Rhodesia. There was no internet, no personal computers, no cell phones. I know you said, heaven forbid, no cell phones. Maybe heaven forbid there were no cell phones. You know, that was the world that I came out of school in and had to enter into the full-time workforce. Now, society has changed a lot since then, but there's some things that never change. Just like you, I had to overcome obstacles that I faced and challenges growing up. But to some extent, for all of us, until we graduate from college, life generally follows a somewhat straight line. In your formative years, your life is often mapped out. School, classes, and tests, followed by more school, classes, and tests. And then you get to the next level, and there's school, classes, and tests. Then before you know it, it comes to an end. And then what is next? Now, some of you, and maybe many of you already know where you're going or what's going to happen. Work, graduate, professional school. But if you were like me, it was kind of unsure what was going to be the next step. And there are hundreds of different paths that you can take. And maybe many of you have already figured that out. But as you weigh the various options, regardless of no matter how prepared you think you are, it is understandably daunting. And I have some advice that I'd like to impart this morning. As you take the next big step, remember, you've been preparing for this. You are prepared for this. You're ready to move on. You're adults, at least somewhat, because if you're still on your parents' cell phone plan, you're not quite there yet. But you are Morgan State University graduates. Morgan has prepared you for what lies ahead. So don't be afraid of the future. Most of all, don't be afraid of failure. When I was in your place, I never considered elective office, let alone 5 years ago. After I left college, I started in business. I tried a career in banking. I found out pretty quickly I didn't like it. Now, those of you going into banking, it just wasn't for me. It was boring to me. I was not very good at it, probably because I felt it was boring. And I'd say at this point, I really failed at it. And then I moved on. I moved on to technology sales, which went quite well. I did fairly well there. And then several years of doing that, I decided on a couple of big things. One, to get married, and then the other, go to law school. Pretty much in that order. So I kind of like stress. But it was the But I will say, getting married to my wife, Monica, was the best decision I ever made. And I'm not saying that just because she's here today with me, and she's been with me for 30 years, so I'm pleased with that. Now, it wasn't until my late 30s that I started to get somewhat involved in politics, first at the local level, then moving on to state and some national. And then in late 2013, I received a call from a friend asking me to meet for coffee to discuss something with serious political implications. Now, of course, I knew my friend Larry Hogan was going to run for governor. And so when I got off the phone, I turned to my wife, Monica, and I said, I hope it's not going to ask me to run for lieutenant governor with Larry Hogan. But after some convincing, I decided to go forward. And actually, I enjoyed being on the campaign trail. And I know you're probably saying, after looking at all the stuff that goes on in Washington and national stuff, the presidential stuff, you're saying, really? You enjoyed that? But it was far different for us. I think perhaps because a lot of people didn't think we had a chance to win. And then, unlike Washington, we weren't crazy. But, you know, we had a lot of people that just didn't believe. I mean, even friends who thought we were, out of our mind to be running. But we believed, and we weren't afraid to fail trying. And now, as they say, the rest is history. And I don't regret a single moment of it. But it just shows you don't know what the future has in store for you. And you never know when the future is staring you right in the face. When I was graduating from college, when I was pursuing a career in business and later in law, I couldn't see the big picture. There were peaks and valleys and frustrations along the way, and it was easy to miss how those pieces were coming together. But looking back at all the detours that I took, all the times I felt uncertain about the future, unsure about what I wanted to do with my life, they all led me right here. And I was preparing for those opportunities that I could not have imagined when I was in your shoes. So believe me, there are going to be opportunities out there that you just can't imagine at this time. And they will be there. To every one of today's graduates, you're going to experience your share of doubts and disappointment. It's inevitable. But I can tell you today that with the benefit of hindsight, I am incredibly thankful that in those times of uncertainty, I chose to follow my instincts. Instead of taking the easy path or the obvious path, I made my own. If you believe in something, and if you work hard and stay disciplined, you will succeed. But it will be the failures that you endure that will strengthen you and prepare you for something bigger that could be waiting right down the road. I would also encourage you to continue to prepare yourself. Never stop learning. Gain more knowledge and skill that will position you well for the opportunities that will come your way. Be inquisitive, search out the truth, and research all sides of the arguments. And finally, don't accept someone else's baggage. Don't let someone tell you how to think, how to force labels on you, and something that I've been rejecting all my adult life. Too often in life, people will try to box you in and force a label on you. But if you look at some of the most impactful individuals in history, you will see that these men and women went their own way and didn't just follow the crowd. They forged their own paths. Like Morganite and fellow Howardite, Zora Neale Hurston, Doctor, I think you appreciate that. And I didn't know that you were going to be here, but she once said, I have the nerve to walk my own way, however hard, in my search for reality, rather than climb upon the rattling wagon of wishful illusions. Ms. Hurston rejected labels and refused to accept other folks' baggage. And let me share a personal story, and it's short. I don't think you'd mind. It's a little early for lunch. You're done with your finals. You don't really have any place to go, right? So you can spare another 25 minutes. No, it won't be that long. Many years ago, when I was in technology sales, I was doing technology sales, and a fellow salesman who was also black was relaying a story about a sales call that he had in a rural, mostly white area of California. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Bakersfield, California. Bakersfield is a dusty, dry, oil and agricultural town about 115 miles east of Los Angeles. And he told me how he brought along one of our fellow, one of the technical guys, a white guy, to put people at ease. And he turned to me and he said, "You know what I mean by that?" And I said, "No, I don't." Now, of course, I knew what he was talking about and what he meant. But my point was, as I explained to him, I don't walk into situations worrying about how someone else feels about me because of my race. If they have an issue, thank you. You know, if they have an issue with my race, that's their problem. That's not my problem. I was there to sell a service, a solution to their challenge, and if it wasn't good enough for them, then too bad for them. And I later realized that my educational experience in a historically black institution of higher learning gave me that kind of outlook. See, I was able to receive, just like you, my professional foundation in an environment where I could learn without the thought that someone was questioning my intellect because of my race. Now, I have to say, though, my statistics professor at Howard may have had some questions as I struggled through the class, but I don't think that was due to my race. I think that was due to I was having problems in statistics. So, and I saw the baggage again when I was in law school as one of 6 black first-year students in a class of 181. Some of my black classmates fretted about what others may have been thinking when they were called on to answer questions. And I told them, I said, "You can't worry about that." You know, more so, I said, those other students are just happy that they're not being called on. And you didn't see any of them volunteering to answer the question. You know, in most cases, they're thinking about what they're going to do after class. They're just glad they didn't know the answer and they were listening to your answer. You can't worry about that. And so this was all the baggage that these individuals were carrying with them, and it took away from their focus on their mission, be it making money as a salesperson or excelling in your studies when you're in graduate or professional school. So don't let folks get you off track. So I'll try to wrap it up. So I want you to remember a couple of things. 1, don't be afraid to fail. If you want something, go after it with all that you have. 2, continue to prepare yourself. Gain additional knowledge and skills to put you in a position for opportunities that you really can't imagine at this time, but those opportunities will come your way. And 3rd, cast aside labels and don't accept someone else's baggage. Congratulations again for reaching this point. If you take anything from my stories today, let it be that it's not where you start, it is where you finish. And lastly, please thank your families, your friends, and loved ones who helped you through this journey. I didn't necessarily mean right now, but that's okay. But thanks for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. And on behalf of an incredibly proud state, congratulations on your accomplishments and good luck to each of you as you prepare for your next chapters. Thank you again.